What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Debate Night. You are in for quite a show tonight. We have so much to discuss, so I'm not going to waste much time because we've got all the controversy from this past weekend, the course, Ricky, Gannon, everything that went down that you're interested to hear all these takes from, and we got some great takes to get through tonight. So let's introduce our guests and get right into things. Brody Smith.
Yeah, we got a spicy one tonight, and it's still spicy in the comments. I think this is going to be the final episode that I address any more comments in regards to disc golf being easy to learn. I got to shout out my guy, Scott W. He talks about how he's been an athlete his entire life, basketball, baseball, golf. He has turned 50 years old, and he kind of talks about he was a 3 handicap in golf. He plays basketball twice a week, yada, yada, yada. He just recently picked up disc golf in 2021. He has the ability to practice all the time, and he's obsessed at trying to get good. And he says despite having all this, he hasn't found the confidence or comfort in playing disc golf that he's found in these other sports. So when I talk about disc golf being easy, he basically says, I don't know what the F he is talking about. However, my favorite response to that was from Luke. Shout out to Luke. He says, Brody's take is 100% correct. You're just not a good athlete. Which I can respect.
Taylor would come out and say something like that so bad.
We gotta get Mikey's Workshop 3490 on the podcast because he says I'd like to debate Brody on the difficulty of disc golf. So maybe in a future debate night,
special edition episode.
I would for sure bring on like 4 people to debate you on this.
I would love to hear what Mikey has to say about it.
Yeah,
debate night special edition.
I might have to go looking.
Me, Hunter, and Tyler also just recently filmed a video that is going to be a very tough look. A very tough look for those out there that are claiming putting is very challenging to the average person. And so that's coming out soon. Soon, a couple weeks from now.
April 14th, baby.
April 14th. So stay tuned for that.
All right. And then Hunter's joining us once again.
I am excited, at least for some of these questions, because I'm getting like live updates as we speak that I misunderstood a rule on grip locked, and I'm very excited to clear the air here. Actually, apparently I misunderstood multiple, but one of them I've looked into multiple times to verify. One source is basically straight from the horse's mouth, so that source I trust. The other one I thought was wrong, and then I discovered I was wrong. So big, I mean, not really huge implications, but I'm excited.
I'll put a hand up too. I don't know if this is because of the new rule change, because the PDGA changes these rules every year, but I 100% have broken this rule multiple times. If it was the case, I thought anything behind the lie you could remove. So I have 100% taken dead branches like in the trees that were like in my way out, and now you can't do that. It has to be on the ground. So I don't know if that was just recently done, but that's a rule that was completely new to me when I heard about that.
Yeah, fair enough. We also have Matt joining us, another new guest on the show.
What up, what up? My name's Matt Vassell. Been playing disc golf since 2018, give or take around then. I've been playing MPO since 2020. I did have the chance to play a couple Pro Tour and NTs back in like 2020, 2021 time period. So I've played with some decent players. I'm pretty bad. I'm not going to lie. I will be very honest about that. So please do not go look up any of those scores from back then. But love playing disc golf. I've been watching coverage nonstop for the past probably 4 or 5 years. We had a spicy weekend, and I'm excited.
Yeah, should be great. And then Dustin, rounding things out for us, as always.
Indeed, everything's the same checker background, same mindset. But as you said, this might be one of the most heated episodes we've had. Because I've been here since the beginning, since episode 1. And this is probably the craziest stuff we've had happen.
Were you on
to talk about.
Were you on very first episode?
I was, indeed.
That's great.
I was the first ever winner of the show.
Who else was on that episode?
Hunter, Brody.
Hunter, you can call me Honey anytime.
Absolutely. You always will be. Maybe it was Robbie?
It could have been Robbie or Bedanza Dark Horse.
Oh, Bedanza could have been it too, yeah.
He called in for a while out of his RV.
Yeah, it was either Bedanza or Robbie, I think.
That's good stuff.
I also think we're like forgetting a lot of storylines that have happened. I don't think this is maybe even cracking the top 5, guys, but it's going to be a good episode.
Okay.
But I mean,
this isn't cracking the top 5.
Kristen Tatar's daughter getting removed.
True. Yes, that's a big one.
Nico
recency bias going on.
going toe
You're
to
talking about the
toe with.
history of the show.
the
I
Ni-
thought you were talking about this
the
week. I was
Nico
like, what the heck?
The Nico one might be more severe. Yeah, I agree.
I'm saying there's been a lot of things that have happened. I think
has.
people, it's recency bias. It's the
It is.
Of
beautiful
course.
I'll give
beauty
you
of
that.
sports.
All right, well, let's jump right into things. We got a lot to talk about here. So we're going to start with the big one, what everybody wants to hear about, and that is Debris-gate. So for those of you who didn't watch, I'm sure you've seen it posted somewhere, but there was a questionable call involving, or non-call, I should say, involving Rick moving some sticks. Were they in front of his lie? Were they not? Were they attached? Were they not? In any case, it didn't result in the penalty. So I want to know your overall take on Debris-gate. Do you think Ricky knowingly cheated? Did the card fail to enforce the rules? And where do we apply the blame in this situation? What's the deal here with Debris-gate? Brody, what do you think?
Okay, I'm going to answer these kind of out of order first. So the first thing is we love the PDJ, right? We give them all this money. What do? They take a rule, dead and unattached, which is pretty obvious. We can pretty much figure out as a whole what is dead and what is unattached. And they now have changed that to a completely new terminology. Dead and unattached is no longer in the rule book. It is now stated with a much more ambiguous way of where people don't really know. Even the tournament director or Jeff Spring himself was very confused by this as well. It's now an item or collection of loose debris, such as small stones, small unconnected branches, pine cones, leaves, or twigs that the player can easily and quickly move by themselves. So hand up, I'm just going to say right now, no offense to Dustin, I'm going to be able to quickly move a much larger object than Dustin. Dustin might be struggling with it, but to me, I can be like, I can lift up this tree real quick and move it out of my way. So that's one thing, very ambiguous there. And also it goes to play earlier in that round. Ricky has this little branch that's kind of in his way, and he asked to break the branch. Now, that's against the rules. You can't break the branch, but then he's like, okay, I guess I can just move this entire tree that's basically dead on the ground. And then Jeff comes in and says, like, no, you can't, and reads what you. So it's like, it's a very weird thing of like, what is a little branch? What's a small unconnected branch? The PGA just mucking up the waters. Now, as regards to Ricky, I'll say this. I think breaking the rules is not cheating. To me, cheating is when you are breaking the rules and you're trying to get away with it. So I think that's the big, if you're going to call someone a cheater, then that's someone that's actually trying to get away with it. Just because you broke the rules doesn't necessarily make you a cheater. I would say it is kind of not a great look, his interaction after the fact. And also too, like the tweet, I can read the tweet. He never talks once about whether or not the sticks were actually in front or behind. He just mentioned, I have a tremendous amount of respect for the integrity of the game and would never intentionally break a rule to gain an advantage. And again, this is the thing. If he didn't intentionally break it, but he did break it, not intentionally, and he found out after the fact, oh crap, I didn't intentionally break it, he should have been stroked. He should have said, yes, that was it. And so that's the weird thing is he hasn't really come out and confidently said, these sticks were behind, I am fine. It seems like everything's kind of like in this gray area. But I've also played with Rick. He's been around for a while. He doesn't come off to me as a cheater.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the big debates is like,
it's a weird one. It's a weird one.
The intent is there. Hunter, what's your take on this?
Well, first off, to rebuttal Brody slightly, I kind of like that. I get it's going to be ambiguous no matter what you do, but I like moving to trying to get to where you can quickly move something, mainly because dead and unattached, like when it's just that, if a full oak tree is dead and unattached and there's not something in there, like if I get 30 people from the gallery to come move that, I could drastically alter the course, even though it's dead and unattached. So I like what the PDJ is trying to do with the wording there. I do agree, though, it's very ambiguous to where like what can be moved quickly could be 30 different things. I think the big thing here, did Ricky knowingly cheat? Yes, I agree with Brody. Like, no, he didn't knowingly cheat. He did break the rules, though. What I misunderstood, and Brody mentioned this in the beginning, the object you move has to be touching the playing surface. That I never knew that. I think that must be new because it used to be if it crossed in. So the lie, if the stick Ricky was moving that crossed over his lie was in the air, it was not on his playing surface. So that stick, now it's a whole different thing. He never could move one stick, much less the 5 he picked up. So he 100% broke the rules, but the blame's not on him for why he didn't get stroked. That's on his card mates because it was clear as day. This stick comes over up top. He grabbed all of those. Whether you want to say maybe it shouldn't be on his card mates, that's up to how you want the PDJ rules to be written. But how they're currently written, the person to blame here is Gannon Buhr, Luke Taylor, and Isaac Robinson. Those 3 are it. If they're not going to call him on it right then and there, it was clear as day it was broken. It should have been a 2-second. Ricky, you can't move that stick. You moved it. That's a stroke penalty. Boom, bang, it's done. The fact that it wasn't that straightforward and simple, that's not Ricky's fault. You know, you could push some blame on Jeff Spring if you want, but that's the card's fault with how the rules are currently written.
Yeah, I mean, when you factor in the playing surface thing, that certainly makes it clear as day. There's no more real discussion needed there. I don't remember
that being a new rule that was
I've
announced.
never heard such a thing because
someone commented it on Griplocked. Commented on Griplocked, and I went back and fact checked it. And again, it's plain as day right here on the playing surface. And then I went and defined playing surface, and playing surface is the ground.
And just to add on to that too, if you actually go through like the rules, it doesn't actually state anywhere in the rules that if you have a stick that's laying in front of your disc or your lie and then like through your lie, you can move that. It doesn't actually say that. In the rules, it only says farther from the target than the front edge of your lie. You actually have to go to the Q&A of the rules for you to actually find where someone says like a hypothetical Q&A where it tells you that you actually can remove
like
something
extends.
that goes through.
And the problem with that hypothetical Q&A is it happened with the old rule. It never got answered again since the new rule. So that's
weird.
the other issue. Yeah.
Very weird.
Sounds like we got some rules to sort out. Matt, what do you think about this?
PJ probably needs more money to get these rules.
I'd agree.
Yeah. Shockingly, the PDGA's got their own rule struggle going on. But to answer the first question, did Ricky actually break the rule? I'm kind of on the side of yes, he most likely did for a pretty similar reason, not going to lie. But I will admit that us analyzing this from afar, we're looking at this from a singular camera angle. For that reason only, Ricky probably should have asked his card mate to come over and discuss something before moving. I think that's pretty clear as well. And second off, too, if he is going to move something that's behind his lie, don't walk in front of your lie to make that change. At least walk behind your disc and try to move the stick that he was clearly trying to move first. But to be honest, do I think he did anything malicious in this? No. I'm also putting the exact same blame on Gannon, Isaac, Luke. But to be honest, I'm putting the majority of this blame on Jeff Spring for 2 reasons. 1, he's a Disc Golf Pro Tour tournament director. And 2, he was the tournament director for this specific tournament. He's sitting there with Gannon, and allegations have been made that Gannon went directly to Jeff Spring when this happened, saying, hey, I may have seen something, I may have not seen something. He's bringing up the concern. I will put a little bit of this blame on Gannon as well, that if he is seeing something, he should have said something in the moment to Ricky as well and discussed this with the entirety of the card. But it didn't seem like Gannon did that. Instead, he goes up to Jeff Spring. And Jeff Spring says on the tee of 17, which if you watch the live coverage is 14 minutes after Ricky throws the shot. So Gannon is supposed to be making a prompt call here in the moment. Jeff Spring is also supposed to be making a prompt call here in the moment. Neither of those things happened. On the flip side, too, we have Isaac on the complete opposite side of the course. That's a courtesy violation. Should have been watching the card mate. That's a brand new rule change as well. So many things happened wrong in this situation. But to be honest, out of all 5 people, Ricky, Gannon, Isaac, Jeff Spring, and Luke, I put Ricky at the lowest tier of blame in this situation.
Okay, Dustin, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we all agree that there's rule ambiguity here. And it goes back to kind of what we were talking about between answers, where it's like, okay, I understand that it has to be, but further away from the target than the front of my lie. But as Brody mentioned, what if it's extending through both? What if it's in front and behind my lie? Then what? And there was a Q&A that I looked up, but this was 4 years ago, unfortunately, and they haven't done another Q&A since to really rectify that thing. So chronologically speaking, the rule is the issue. Second of all, I don't want to be a jerk because I know a lot of it relies on volunteer labor and you can't clean up everything. But when you have massive bundles of sticks and spots, I feel like that is the kind of stuff that should be taken care of by the people running the event. Also, Ricky, when the camera we got on live, it looked like he only moved stuff in front of his lie. There was something actually in his lie. And it also looked like he cleared a path for his disc. Because if you watch where he threw his forehand at, there was stuff there. After he moved it, it was not there anymore and did help him throw that forehand. When you look at it from the live coverage, Jomez had a different angle where you clearly could see this one stick that was definitely in his lie. But I feel like once Ricky realized that when he tried to move that one stick and it wasn't happening, he had to walk all the way around to the front of his lie. At that point, you got to ask. At that point, you have to get people involved. Be like, hey, can I move all this stuff? Because it's way in front of your lie at that point. So I think that is an issue. I also do think that, when Jeff Spring gets brought in, he should be making a call right away, not letting the whole play out. Right? I can understand if Gannon's not 100% sure about a rule and he wants to go to an official and ask about that rule. But once Jeff Spring either does or doesn't know or whatever, and he sees it, then he has to make a call. I don't think it's fair to move it on to the next hole.
Yeah, it's a complex issue, and I think everybody kind of agrees it was a failure on multiple fronts. It is a failure probably on Rick to follow the rules, or at least know the rules well enough to follow them correctly. A failure on the card mates to make the call, and a failure on Jeff Spring to act once there essentially was sort of a call being made.
I'm gonna say one other thing really quick, if you don't. So Isaac Robinson commented on the Facebook post after Gannon won that ball don't lie. Yeah. Why don't you do something about it during the round, brother? You're on the card.
You were one of the ones that could have
said
on
the other side of the course.
Yeah,
Brody's muted.
Brody's muted. Brody, you're muted. I know you want to say some stuff, so I want to make sure.
He didn't see it. That's clearly him going back and looking at the coverage and seeing that the sticks were in front.
Another thing
Isaac
too,
should be watching the card.
I actually respect Isaac for not just teaming up with Gannon, who's a friend of his, and saying oh yeah, those sticks were in front, when in fact he never saw it.
Yeah, no, he did the right thing as far as once he didn't watch it. But as much as it sucks, per PDGA rules, you have to watch it. I know no one's doing it, but it's the rules.
No one's doing it.
And that's fine as long as you're willing to get a courtesy violation, because Gannon could have said,
and this is why the rule exists.
Courtesy violation.
Disc golf is going to suck if everyone is watching everyone. It's going to be the absolute worst.
I agree. It's the rules.
Yeah.
That rule should probably change.
Pick up sticks, guys. I don't know if you ever played that as a kid. You put the you put the black stick, which like worth 100 in the middle, then you drop them, and then you got to slowly. This might be a real thing in the future, because if you have a stick, a branch that is through your lie, like Ricky's was, but it's now connected and touching other branches in front. If he removes that stick, but sticks in front of his lie get moved, is that a penalty?
I think there's something about taking. There's something in the PDGA rules about taking the lie and that affects it as least as possible.
Yes, that is
Hunter, what you're talking about right now is literally everything that we've been talking about is in 2 paragraphs.
Yeah, but I'm saying if it's as little as possible.
That's talking about your stance. Getting in a bush, getting into a tree.
Right.
It's only saying about your stance. It hasn't said anything about removing it. What I'm saying is, if I have a stick that's rolling through my lie,
I know what you're saying.
And I'm like, I got to remove this, guys. And I lift it up like this. And by doing so, it throws all these sticks that were in front of my lie.
No, I get it. Yeah.
Is that a penalty?
Well,
it doesn't say anything in the rules
if you were
about
trying to be really gentle moving it, and they happen to kind of shuffle.
I'm saying nothing in the rules say either. Nothing in the rules says either.
I'm not sure.
That's my whole point. Is there so much stuff that the PDGA has not thought about, I guess.
Basically,
it's the game
rule,
within the game, baby.
So basically the rule states that it's legal for a player's throwing motion to cause incidental movement to an obstacle, but not the way that you're describing it, Brody. Yeah. And it says at the very end that a player who moves any obstacle on the course other than what's allowed is supposed to receive a penalty throw. So in that case, they are moving stuff that they're not allowed to move, in which case they should incur a penalty throw, according to the rule, the way it's written.
So whenever you touch something, and all of a sudden it moves something in front.
That is a good point. What if I'm just walking up the fairway and kick a stick?
You can pick up litter on the course. That's another rule that you can do that. You can pick up litter on the course.
The MA3 rules guys are getting some good AML.
It's just
course maintenance left the sticks behind.
It's very
Ricky
ambiguous.
was cleaning it up.
Very ambiguous.
We all agree on that.
I feel like golf is such a tough one because and obviously disc golf's more ambiguous than golf, but there's just rules that are gonna be ambiguous. You know what I mean?
Because to Hunter's point, if Hunter walks 5 feet in front of his disc to look at his lie, or to look at his line to the disc, and he kicks a pine cone that is in front of his disc, that is a penalty by the rules.
You would think, yeah, it probably could be called.
That
Well,
is
it's
that is a penalty.
We have this debate every time we talk about rules, but it's golf is
Gentleman's
ambiguous and it's a gentleman's game, and there's always going to be
But you
intent.
can make it not ambiguous. That's the whole point.
No,
Right? Rules
I
that
don't know
aren't
if you
ambiguous.
can.
to an
because-
extent, but it's never going to be
That's
perfect,
very
Brody. You
specific
can't make
rule.
it perfect.
What they had before, dead and unattached, was less ambiguous than loose debris.
I'm saying the dead and unattached, I could still walk forward and kick something that's dead and
I
unattached
know.
and get stroked there too.
My point, Hunter, is they went with something that was less ambiguous, and now we have something more ambiguous. My point is you can make rules less ambiguous. We had something that was less ambiguous. Now something's more ambiguous. It's possible to make it. You could literally just say if you unintentionally move something. And what my point is none of this is in the rules. There's nothing in the rules that's saying if you unintentionally move something, it's not a penalty. So if
Yeah.
you walked in front of your line, you kicked a pine cone, I could theoretically go up to you and say, you kicked that pine cone, that's a stroke. And there's nothing you could do about it by the letter of the law.
Yeah, that might be true. I'd have to
We
read
gotta
it more,
start,
but I
we
think
gotta start
that's
being
right.
the guys that enforce this, and then maybe we can create
That is
change.
some- I will say another thing
We
that
might
I
get
was
beat up,
wrong
though.
on before we get to the next question is I thought that Ricky couldn't be involved in that rules
Yeah.
agreement. That so
he doesn't have
the,
a vote.
the group one with the vote is about
Is that just
flight
OB?
position status of a questionable disc. Status of a disc. So in this case, Ricky could lobby and argue
Gotcha.
this one.
That's
Because that's
interesting. I didn't
not
know it
about
depended on the argument.
Yeah, so that is like a subsection of the flight position status of a
Dude,
disc.
nobody knows these rules. Well, apparently our
I did-
comment section does.
I did like
So,
how
yeah.
Jeff Spring too started with like, "Hey, why'd you do that, man? Why'd you,
That, it was very interesting.
Why'd you do
Yeah.
that, man?
That was
Like,
very
what-
interesting to me. It's like
What was that
there
question?
was no rules call made.
Yeah, what was
No.
that
He
question?
never once said like because if you saw him move it, it's a penalty stroke. That there is no defend yourself. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
Like it's just like
It turned into like a trial. This is very
Yeah.
very
interesting.
odd. It was
You just,
very
you just
odd.
wanted to
Jeff
talk
Spring
about
should
it.
not have inserted himself in this situation unless he was going to make a call.
yeah,
Correct.
exactly.
You-
That's
why-
what it
why
is.
are you
There's
bringing
no
this up
reason
again?
To, yeah, there's no reason to bring
Well,
it up
also,
any
I
other
mean-
way.
Why'd you do that, man?
Gannon also really like
Hey, man.
shouldn't have went to Jeff unless Gannon was making a call because there's no reason to bring
Right.
Jeff into it. It's
No,
just like,
yeah.
hey,
That's like
Jeff,
instigating.
I
I don't
saw
mind.
this, and if
I don't
Jeff's like,
mind.
oh, you saw that, that's a stroke.
No, if
That
I'm
should've been that
Gannon,
simple.
if I'm Gannon, I do not mind that at all. If I don't have to be the bad guy, I don't mind that at all.
No, but I'm saying Gannon should have just went to Jeff to make the call, and Jeff's like, you saw that? Gannon's like, yes, I'm making a call, and then Jeff could have been the guy that's like, hey, Ricky, this call's been made against you. But instead,
Well,
Gannon,
I don't know.
like,
if Gannon, again, it's an ambiguous
If Gannon-
rule.
if
I don't know
Gannon
if
said,
Gannon's
"I saw
100%.
this,"
I don't know if he's 100%.
that's what I'm saying is like if Gannon just questioned Jeff, Jeff could just be like, well, if you're 100%, make the call. If you're not, then then what do you do? If you're
Yeah, I
not
don't-
100%, we can't make the call.
Because the call has to be made after the infraction happens before
Like
you
they were
move along,
basically
'cause it impacts
hoping
play.
they were basically hoping Ricky was just going to tattle on himself.
Yeah.
Because like
Yeah,
if Ricky
you're
thought that he
exactly
couldn't
right.
move the sticks, he wouldn't have moved the sticks.
Which happens in golf all the
That's what
time.
I'm saying is
Exactly
Ricky
right.
should have said, "Hey, can I move these sticks?" Right? But
Yes.
Ricky obviously thought he could move the sticks. So why would Ricky say that?
That's so
So once
tough though,
Ricky
too,
moves
because he's
it-
3 feet in front of his line when he's moving all these sticks.
Yeah, clearly like he picked one up and moved a bunch of them. He just like, "Oh, I'm gonna grab these and move them."
We've
what
also
happened.
have all done stuff unknowingly, like in the heat of the moment. We've
Yeah.
broken rules, and then when someone says something, you go, "Oh crap, I did do that." That's my thought. My thought is Ricky,
that's my theory,
I
too.
don't think Ricky knew he was breaking the rule when he was
But
doing it.
he was also asked 20 minutes later.
Yeah.
Well, in the tweet, he mentions that he didn't even realize what throw they were talking
That's what I'm
about.
saying. So
Yeah.
at that point, he's like, "There was a stick
So
in my
much
line. I
happened.
moved it."
So many
Deny,
throws
though.
happen
Deny,
between
deny,
then and
deny, man.
Yeah, no,
I would
it's-
feel
it's a weird-
more
What do you guys? I
passionate.
don't even know what you're talking about.
I'd feel more passionate about how Rick responded if it was immediate. If it was like
Yeah.
he moved it,
But-
he's walking away, they ask him, and he says, "I
Yeah.
didn't do that." But 20 minutes later, like the guy clearly wasn't thinking, and now he's like trying to think back, like, did I move
It's-
more than what? Like I
you
was
can
moving the stick
never-
that was in my lie. Like you know
you
what I'm
can
saying?
never-
That's
you
a
can
very
never-
believable story to me.
You can never predict the unconscious mind. Let's talk about this second Ricky instance series. We're probably gonna have the exact same conversation.
Yeah.
So After the debris argument, we quickly arrived at another rules dispute on the playoff hole when Rick shot fell OB near the green of hole 1. Should Rick catch any blame for how he handled this situation? Was this just a matter of an impossible call and poor planning / officiating? Hunter, what do you think?
So this is an interesting one. I actually already had this rule pulled up, even though I just briefly talked about it, which is 801.02K, which is the enforcement, because technically, once Ricky makes a statement he can have a brief state of his opinion, but he may not argue or lobby the group for the outcome of where his disc landed. So basically, Ricky's allowed, like, hey, I think I might have crossed up here, which is kind of what we saw. The crowd went crazy, was like, yeah, he definitely crossed over there, blah, 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 blah. That's all Rick's was allowed. Whether he crossed that line of a brief statement, I don't know. But what's interesting about this one is I kind of flipped my opinion on it because it's a playoff. So the card consists of Ricky and Gannon, meaning the only player on that card to make the decision is Gannon, meaning Jeff Spring actually, as the standing official walking with him, needed to be more involved in this call because Jeff Spring is the other vote. So if Jeff Spring and Gannon split votes, then Ricky gets a vote because now the card is split. So where before Jeff Spring probably might need to stay out of it, Jeff Spring needed to get involved in this a little bit more. And maybe he did and was just like, look, this is it, that's that. But I've had multiple people DM me saying they were at the green and they all saw this disc go around the tree. Camera angle I saw looked like it was in front of the tree, but it is very questionable as far as, like, if so many people seem to think it went around the tree, A, we needed to have a spotter up there. B, Jeff Spring needed to get involved in this because in a playoff, it's a group decision and the group is Gannon. Because Ricky literally can't argue. If he argues, it's a courtesy violation. So he can't go beyond and say, guys, I really think I did this. So this needed to be Gannon Buhr, Jeff Spring talking it out as the two officials that had votes on this, in my opinion, as far as I understand the rules.
Yeah, makes sense to me. Matt, what do you think?
Little different. To me, I'm putting absolutely no blame on Ricky in this situation for a couple reasons. One, I agree, he's on a two-person card. It's a playoff. It's him, it's Gannon, and Jeff Spring obviously comes in as the second person. But the fact that there's no official spotter on this card, on this hole, just like there is or different than how it is at like USDGC, where there's an official spotter, their way's the highway, where they put that flag is where you have to go with no matter what. Totally different in this situation, where on coverage, they're saying, hey, it does not look like there's any spotters there. Brian Earhart afterwards on Reddit says, we have been told there were two spotters on this hole. And that's who I think Jeff Spring was talking to at that time. However, the reason I'm saying no blame on Ricky in this situation is it is their job as the people on this card to figure out the most accurate representation to where that disc went out of bounds. If you go back and listen to how Ricky is presenting his quote unquote argument in this situation, everything is being presented as a question. He's saying, if I'm told that the disc is going over the tree, then I had to have crossed here, or I think I must have crossed in this situation. I never hear Ricky say, I am 100% sure that it crosses on this side of the island as opposed to beforehand. And for that reason, that's why Gannon's asking who put the flag. Is it an official? Is it just a random person who's putting the flag? They're not really sure. And all we hear in the background is all the fans yelling where they thought it happened. In my opinion, it's a really bad look on the Disc Golf Pro Tour to have these fans yelling, no official there. Jeff Spring kind of hanging out in the background, not saying too much, even though he should have been the second voice on this card, which is why instead I'd say put a drop zone, not what they did instead.
Yeah, certainly hard to lay down if you're Rick and you're hearing everybody telling you're safe and then you're being positioned out. That is, well, not safe, but crossed in. That's definitely a tough spot to be in. Dustin, how did you think this all was handled?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's no way in the world you should not have some sort of official spotter who has some sort of decision-making power in a situation where you only have to focus on two people. There's no longer a bunch of shots happen at once across a fairway with multiple players involved. It's two people. And those two people making a call is difficult because it directly impacts the result. There is no third-party observer that's going to be directly impacted by this. It's either player A potentially is going to win because of this call or player B is potentially win because of this call. And so that makes it to where you really do need some type of official voice. And if Jeff Spring is going to freaking diddy-daddle about what happened on hole 16 2 holes ago, but then when he's actually needed to do something completely absent, that's a huge problem for me. Especially because, look, the way this hole was set up, you know that there's a chance that someone's going to have to throw over OB if they're going to attack the green because they're trying to go for the win and not go for the tie, whatever the case may be. So that should clue you in that people need to be hyper vigilant about where these lies are at to make sure that you get this right. Because now you're like, it's like you started a whole new round of disc golf with only two players in it, and that thing needs to be officiated and marshaled correctly, in my opinion. And look, I can understand Rick arguing his case, and I can understand why it may have looked like it did fly in front of the green because of how high and where he threw it. But I think it's just bad timing because of the controversy on hole 16. I think if hole 16 doesn't happen, people probably view Ricky's approach to this a little bit differently. I think the other issue is it's like, what is the point of having a spotter flag on the ground if no one's going to pay it any mind until after we argue for 20 minutes about what actually should happen? Give an actual marshal some power to actually get the correct view, or multiple people, whatever, and then make a mark and then do what you need to do. Obviously, when you have the crowd, yelling one thing, even people in the crowd might be yelling different things. It just gets really, really messy, and it's like this was just poorly planned and executed again.
It is always a goofy look when you got that flag down and then you got the players from 400 feet away just ignoring it like it has no importance on their decision. But that's the position they're in. Brody, what do you think? What do you think about this whole situation on the playoff here?
I'm doing something on the fly right now to see if I can make this happen, because I don't know if Silas has got the capability. But first thing I got to mention,
Silas has the capability.
The time capability. Because I just threw something at him real quick. First thing I gotta say, Matt, hard disagree. Anti-drop zone on par fours.
Oh,
Absolutely. I've had that stance for a very long time.
That was Trevor's opinion.
No, Matt said it.
Carry on.
No, I also agree there should have been a drop zone.
No,
Good
If
choice.
you have no spotter,
Agreed.
Insert.
If there's a spotter, no drop zone needed.
Give Brody 10 seconds. I stole it from him.
Yeah, I agree. You guys are right. There's no spotter because the entire course is filled with people. And also, I think John Houck also mentioned how he did in a thing saying this is how much lined OB we have on this course. He was basically talking about how there's barely any OB. How can we have spotters on a course with so much OB? But yes, anti par 4 drop zones, do not like them at all. I will say it is kind of funny how we had this awesome stretch of play between Gannon and Ricky down the stretch, and we are just talking about these. This is the thing that disc golf really needs to get solved and figured out, because you could have big moments. We don't always need to have these it makes us feel amateur. I went to an Ironman that was in Dallas this past week, and we got texted to one of the people Kelsey knows that was in the Ironman. Hey, they just canceled the swim. This was an hour before the race was supposed to start. The winds were so high that the current was so strong, they didn't think a lot of people were even going to be able to swim back. So they had to cancel the swim. In my head, I was thinking there's over 1,000+ people competing in this thing. That is an absolute nightmare to try to figure out. This is going to be chaos. It's going to be really bad. No, they've done this before. They have stuff in place before, and it was run so well. What we're learning right now is the Disc Golf Pro Tour is learning on the fly, and the PDGA, whoever it is, and they need to learn from their mistakes and fix it. If you are in a playoff and there's no one else playing, we should never have a question of where a disc lands. You should have every spotter, every official on that hole to make sure, because I'm looking, and now Silas, can you pull it up for me? Cross our fingers.
Oh, he's got it. Just give
He's
him a
got
second
it.
here.
This is where the spotter came from. He came from the bottom right of this tree. For those saying that the spotter was there, I don't know if you can make that big. Can you make that big?
Well, it'll be big for them.
It's very hard to see it on the right side, middle of the screen. That is where can you guys see that?
Yeah.
That the spotter came from. Maybe you can see it better from my phone.
I don't think so.
Well, the audience can see
The
it.
audience can see it. The audience can see it.
Talk to the
Great.
audience, Brody. It's okay. Just talk to the audience.
The spotter came from in between the two lakes.
Oh, I see it now. Yeah.
Why is the spotter there? Again, poor planning. If you are on this hole, you should be told the spot that matters the most. I don't care if it's 1 foot or 1 foot to the right, if it's short. The spot is, did it ever cross? That spotter should have been just right of that grouping of trees, standing there as the disc is going over his head and being, it never crossed me. It never crossed in bounds. This spotter has no idea. That spotter has no idea. He's short. He doesn't have a good line.
He's spotting both lakes for
this
sure. Is what's going on.
Who cares about the first lake?
That's
Who cares about the
I'm
first
just
lake?
saying that's 100% what's going on. Is
Which
he's
is also
spotting both
funny because
lakes?
it's like you got to have two then.
You got to have two there. Yeah.
So the whole
Where could
thing
they have possibly found another one? There was just no
the
one there.
whole
Nobody
thing
there.
is like the poor planning.
Record-breaking volunteers, apparently.
We're just seeing what we're seeing right now is poor planning, and it's unfortunate, but they got to learn from it and get better. That's just what they got to do.
Just got to learn from him and get better.
I can definitely see where, like, you know, I've ran tournaments with volunteers before, and I can see where during it you're thinking, oh, we're gonna, like, we just have one guy up here, he's watching both lakes because he's just marking where stuff went OB. You know what I mean? Because, like, during it's hole one, technically, during the actual event, very rare that guy's under that much pressure. You know what I mean? But all of a sudden, hole one is all that matters. And, like, to Brody's point and pretty much everyone's point that said this, like, you got to be able to adjust, like, hey, we're now in a playoff where this is life or death for this tournament, this shot. We can't bring Jeff Spring should be up there by the green if we can't find someone else.
How
because
are there
like,
not 5 spotters out there?
That's what I'm saying. This is all that's the tournament's over except for this hole. Hole 1 is all of a sudden hole 18, and they're going to play 1 and 17 on repeat. Just have like 5 spotters walk with the card. There should be like a
that hole
playoff
one
thing.
has the potential to have this happen because of how you've designed the hole.
But like I saw
planning.
this at
Poor planning.
Tour Championship where they had spotters walking with the like
Yes.
lead groups.
Yes.
That should just be like, hey, going forward, when we go to a playoff, we have X amount of spotters that are spread out across these holes.
You know that the eyeballs are the most like this whole show exists now because of this situation. Like it's always going to be the most scrutinized thing during the playoff because everybody's watching that one moment. So I think they have to have a better defense.
Well, also imagine how electric it would be if you have a little spotter huddle and they come out and they move the flag. They're
It's
like,
like the
no,
chain gang
he
in football."
crossed. And everyone's like, the crowd's going crazy. Like, no, what is that? Terrible review, refs.
Also,
Could be
like,
great.
I think he might have crossed. Because
What did you see that was convincing?
Because there's no line. There's no line of OB. It's just surrounded by water. And so it goes all the way down to the water. And like that lake does kind of jut out. That land does kind of jut out.
The coverage views were not very good.
I could not definitively say whether it crossed or not. It was not
on the ground.
I.
I've had multiple people on the ground DM me after grip lock and were like, it went around the trees.
I personally
if it went
thought
around or over the tree.
I've heard
there
both.
You go.
Like I've heard
Like,
people
it might
say,
have
I was
crossed
there.
on the
It was
right
short by
side.
20 feet.
I think it crossed on the right by the tree.
side.
I think his line probably should have been by the tree.
I do think a lot of people are saying whether or not it crossed, but I think the big thing is I think that it did catch that right side.
That's what I'm saying. Because
I think his line should have been there, like not next to the basket, but
Correct.
over on the right.
No.
Next to the tree, basically.
Because
Probably
I do think it was
30 feet.
because it was harsh to
way
put him all
closer.
the way on the other side. I do agree with
Yeah.
that.
Well, it makes sense the angle that guy had. There's no way for him to tell.
That's what I'm saying.
We
That's
had better
when
angles than he did. That's for sure.
When you mentioned that there was 2 spotters, I remember watching the coverage and being like, I didn't see anyone, and so I went back and looked. You
That's
can't
funny.
see anyone until you see the drone
You
footage.
caught him on that replay.
And then you just see like a random guy come out of nowhere with the flag, and I'm like, "That's
Yeah.
the spotter." Like
That's
he has
him.
no idea.
let's go over
I
this
will-
course. Go ahead, Matt.
I will argue real quick though against Brody. If after reviewing this for multiple days, multiple camera angles, drone angle, cameras, people on the course talking about it, and we are still so much up in the air about where this disc actually crosses, I would argue that's more of a problem, yes, with the design, but also how that rule is stated and how that rule is being applied if there's not a drop zone in this situation. Because if it is a difference of a 20-foot putt and a 100-foot putt, vastly different, like you're saying, that pond juts back inwards. It's not a 90-degree angle that's happening here. I would argue, like if you asked me on Tour Life, what's my biggest pet peeve, figuring out where a disc crosses in bounds, that is my biggest pet peeve because it's never going to be perfect, even after days of looking at video coverage of it.
And just to counteract that, my reason why I hate drop zones on par 4s is if a disc slams into the basket and rolls back into the water, and then another person fluffs a shot in the middle of the lake, they both get the same exact spot. I absolutely hate that.
We need whatever technology tennis is using for like if the ball hit the line or not, but just like a vertical edition where it's like we can just go to it and like, did the disc cross this plane? Like, did it ever get over here?
Now too.
That's what we need. That PDGA figured it out. DGPT.
You literally just need the spotter to stand on that line.
Or that, but I think mine's a little more reasonable.
Wait, I got it. So
the only line that
we all know the Disc Golf Pro Tour loves their drones for DGN. Get a drone with a laser. Let's laser track this
There we
bitch.
go.
I got
laser
it.
track.
That laser.
Make a wall of lasers with all the drones you love to fly around. There you go. All right.
All right, let's move on to the course design here with these next couple topics. So first, we're going to start with less of the course itself and more of the concept around this. So course designer John Howe continually defended his course design. I think it was hilarious how often they were interviewing him. He was defending his design against player criticism, claiming that their ability to only obtain C2 putts most of the time was his intent. That's what he wanted to happen. So I want to know, even if that was his intent, which I do believe him, to be fair, is it actually a valid model to make fair and entertaining disc golf courses? And then did you like this design at all, really? Because, you know, like I said, I think he did exactly what he set out to do, but like, is that really a good way to design a disc golf course? Matt?
To be honest, I love the intent of this design, and I'm going to focus on that word intent there. For years, the Pro Tour, even all the way back to NTs, such a common complaint amongst fans is that courses are too easy for the pros, putting's too easy, highs are fast, courses are being broken in minutes by these top professionals. If putting is too easy, and we've heard takes of changing it with marksman baskets or removing step putting from within C2, or maybe even getting rid of like those outside chains to make putting a little bit harder, maybe this is the right solution. Maybe on a typical Pro Tour course, getting to C1 for these top 25, 30 professionals is kind of expected, whereas instead, maybe getting to C1 should be an absolute luxury for these players, whereas getting to C2 is solid shots. One of the reasons I say that too, if we're watching constant 20, 25 footers where the majority of this Pro Tour field is making those putts, that's boring time and time again. If you have 54 holes of the exact same 20, 25 foot putt, I would argue that's incredibly boring to watch. There were 65 players in this field with a Circle 1 percentage of 90% or above. That's, like I said, incredibly boring to watch. Whereas instead, if the intent is to get players to Circle 2, I would much rather watch 50, 55, 60, even 45 foot putts with the excitement behind, because the spectator can look at that a lot easier and say, hey, that is a hard putt to make. And I also think that's going to push the skill level of these pro players even higher. I love that this course promotes to be creative. I love that it forces people to think critically while on this course. Yes, you can sit in your Airbnb ahead of time and think, hey, I can plan out all 18 tee shots in my mind, but on these par fours, par fives, every single one's going to be a little bit different. You're going to be scrambling kind of no matter where you are. Do I think that every single course should be like that? No, but I loved that this course is pushing the limit to get players into C2.
Yeah, you certainly could argue that it's a way to solve kind of the putting crisis, and that's a valid point. Like there's a lot of automatic putts being made from inside of Circle 1. Dustin, what do you think about the C2 concept?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, kind of going with what he said, you do want a course to be difficult and test players because you want to raise the skill ceiling and you want, you know, players to be forced to have to make good shots and good decision making to get a good result, right? That way the best players are getting tested. You're testing a variety of skills. You're testing a variety of shot shapes. And so in that regard, I think this is, first of all, a beautiful course that's very unique, that doesn't have really any other scenery like it has, which is great. I think it fits the route nice. T-pad, I'm going to talk about a little bit because it's a part of the design. I like that the size, the painted lines are dumb. And I think it caused for way too many potential foot fault issues on tee shots because you have these weird painted lines. Just paint one line across the front of the T-pad where you want people to stop and let it be a day. I think the rest of it really caused for a little bit of issue. I think that, you know, the original course here at PDF was probably a bit too soft for the Disc Golf Pro Tour. To give you a little bit of an example, Silas Schultz and Matty O, they play an A tier every year at that course, and Silas shot a 14 under one round last year, and Matty shot like a 12 under. So like it was a little bit soft, and it probably did need some redesigning. And I think that the way they redesigned it, I thought the par threes and par fives were mostly fine on this course. You know, I think that they scored pretty well overall. I think they were fine. I think the issue for me was the par fours, because either A, people were not taking the intended route. Like, for example, hole one, people aren't taking that gap off the front of the tee. They're throwing big sky and hyzers on the left-hand side. And that happened on a lot of holes where people are throwing big sky annies off the tee, or they're throwing big sky annies on their approach shot because they don't have any green access. And so now you're not really forcing players to do good shots or think. You're making players just take the course out of play entirely by throwing over the top of everything. and they don't even care where they land. They just want to make forward progress and not bogey.
Yeah.
So at that point, I feel like some of these par fours that were causing those issues are going to have to be addressed, in my opinion.
I do think that was a pretty funny kind of reversal to the making players think. It's just Gannon wins the tournament by throwing over the top. But yeah, I do agree with you. I think the par threes and the par fives were the strength of that course. Brody, what did you think about this track?
Yeah, so I'll first say this. When I think designing a course, it's going to be easier to make a course easier than it is to make a course harder. So I think when you're talking about coming in and taking out trees, you probably want to start by removing less trees than you think, because it's way more expensive and a lot harder to put a tree in than it is to take a tree out. So I think they probably learned a lot about this. And I'm thinking about a couple courses and holes back in the day. I think it was like hole 9, I believe, at Idlewild. It changes obviously with the course, but people used to throw this crazy high hyzer just way out in the middle of nowhere and hopefully crash it in. They had to put a Mando next to that tree right by the tee pad to force people not to do that. OTB a while ago, hole 18, people were playing it down the fairway of a golf hole, not even on the fairway of the actual disc golf course, because it was way easier to play that way. They ended up putting a big, huge triple Mando right in front of the tee pad. So I think there's ways of doing it. I think this is something, I don't know how John Hawk feels about Mandos, but this is something that we might see in the future to stop people from throwing those big sky antes. But I gotta say, like, I didn't mind it. To Matt's point, like, it would have been way less interesting down the stretch if Gannon and Ricky were making like 20 footers. Those big putts down the stretch definitely made it way, way cooler. And I'll say this too. If Luke Taylor was a little bit better at putting circle 2 that final round, he's right in the mix as well. So, I mean, it makes it for very exciting and puts a little more pressure on pros to actually be decent from putting from outside a circle.
Yeah, I've definitely told people, like, if there was ever a course for the Mando switching and Mandos all over the place, like, this is the prototype for it. All right, Hunter, wrap it up. What was your thoughts on this kind of design model here?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to focus mainly on the ideology of circle 2 putts being the reward. I think that where Matt landed, I agree with, if you think that the circle has to be open, which I think a lot of pros do. Aaron Gossett during his practice round was like, one thing I love about this course is, like, when you're inside the circle, there's nothing in here. It's just wide open. And I'm like, why is that the standard? Because if that is it, then because let me back up a little bit. Where I think that we should go to make putting more difficult and the short game more difficult is protecting the green. The green's only accessible from the right side. The green's only accessible from X, Y, or Z. If you're in the left, you're going to have a bunch of shadow putts. If you're whatever, like, trees being close to the basket, as long as it's not randomly there, like, trees being intentionally close to the basket should be a good thing. That should be a completely fine aspect of a course. A lot of pros are like, what the frick? I'm 15 feet from the basket and I can't see it. Don't throw to the left side, dum-dum. If you're good at disc golf, throw to the right side. How about that? Then guess what? You have a wide open putt. When we have pros that are like, that's not it, then we land here. And what I don't like about a circle 2 putt is the reward, is because of the rate that players are hitting that. And if you throw good shots and you end up 200 feet away instead of 80 feet away or 70 feet away, well, chances are, like, if it's a 60-foot putt, we'll go there. Players are probably making 1 or 2 out of 10 of those, if even. That might be generous. So the other 8 or 9 times, that guy is getting up and down from 150 feet. Both result in tap-in pars, even though I played the hole as intended. I played it perfectly, and I was rewarded with an 80-foot birdie putt. You played it a little bit worse than perfectly. You were rewarded with a 150-foot upshot or 200-foot upshot. We both get the same score. So I don't like the idea that the circle 2 is the reward. I would prefer it to be, oh, you play it perfectly, that means you are able to go deep and have a 25-foot putt back at the basket, versus I'm 200 feet out and I still have to, like, scramble a little bit. I still have to think here. That's what I would prefer, and that's why I kind of am against it. But I do like he's trying something new, and I like the idea behind a lot of Hawk designs, although the execution here I think was lacking.
Yeah.
Can we also mention, like, this? I think a lot of people are kind of bundling this all up in the entire course. The idea that you can't, like, get into circle 1 to me, when I was watching it, it seemed like that was only on a couple
It's
holes.
only a few holes. Yeah, that's I'm talking about it as a philosophy of like that's what he's trying to do, and I think that I don't like that philosophy as like this is the standard because it didn't actually play like that for all 18 holes by any means.
It was basically just the par fours, and it was only like maybe 5 or 6 of the par fours. That
I
had
think
issues.
what he's trying to do now is I think he's trying to make it to where throwing into circle 2 is a good shot, and throwing into circle 1 is incredible. And
no, he has said like great shots, like it should be great shot, circle 2 putt on par 4, the par 4s.
Why do we hate that?
I don't like because then good shot. I'm parked. Great shot. I have an 80-footer. We both have the same score. I don't like that.
Okay, and hear me out here.
Yeah.
I don't. 80 foot's not circle 2.
I don't think I don't think this idea of good shot, you're getting a par. Like there was a lot of people that were off by a little bit and they had to really struggle for their pars. And sometimes they didn't get it. Like this is not a course that you can just lay up and get, like you can't go out there. I didn't see that many holes that you could go out there and say, you know what? I'm going to play this hole for par and walk away with a par. This is not that type of course. Now, if it was that type of course, Hunter, I'd be with you.
Well, I'm attacking the ideology of it more than this course specifically because A, I don't think this course played that way for every hole. B, I agree with you, but I'm just saying from a standpoint of like, okay, this requires me to go massive distance driver. So I'm going like 500 feet. Well, then if I'm a pro and I can go fairway and be more controlled and go 400, I'm now 260 out and you're or whatever and you're 60 out. And it's like, yes, yeah, you're rewarded there, but what's the percentage of people making that 60-foot putt? That's my problem.
What I saw in this course was if you were 260 out, that is not a guarantee up and down. We saw a lot of people struggle getting up and down from inside of 300 feet on this course. And so that's where I like the idea of the way this course played. Now, I agree. I think they need to tweak some things for sure. But as far as the first time through, I thought this was really enjoyable to watch players have to struggle. And also this idea of that was a great shot. It wasn't a great shot if it hit a tree. Like clearly that wasn't a great shot. And I think in the past, people have played courses where you can basically throw a good shot or an okay shot off the tee and still make birdie. Out here, it didn't seem like that was the case. And
I did like that aspect.
I'm okay with that. I actually like that you actually have to throw 2 good shots or great shots. Whatever you want to say.
This course specifically, my problem was more because there were so many options, it could be confusing to the viewer of like, where is he aiming right now?
That was very,
because there was a lot of gaps in front of him.
That's different. Yeah,
well, let's expand a little bit now.
That should be having played the course.
And let's talk about kind of the venue and the stop overall here. So I want to know, do you see a future for this venue on tour after a somewhat controversial start? Do you feel it would be worth it to simply fix the poor self-service and certain design flaws, or are there better stops and courses to consider instead? And then also, do you think they rush this stop in general? Do you think the idea of going to a course where people have to keep score on the back of their disc because they have no self-service is that just even questionable at all or just ridiculous?
I don't know why he did that because Ricky had a paper scorecard. Just throwing it out there.
The idea that self-service, like coverage was compromised because of bad service. We'll just say that then. Dustin, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think first of all, again, I said it earlier, this is a beautiful course that's very unique. The exposed root cypress trees, the culture around the place and all that, I do think means that it's a place that has value on the tour. I think that the infrastructure and investment that are already there are great, and they seem to already have plans to make it even better from some of the stuff that I heard about them investing in cell towers for next time and all that jazz. I think if it's the tour out nicely, I think it would be a real shame if you skipped out on Southeastern disc golf outside of Central Florida, considering how rich disc golf is in this area. It brings people in from Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, the Florida Panhandle. You know, it's a really big deal. And I know a lot of people showed out and it had a lot of support for this. And again, I think they have a great culture already there, and they're building something that could be a great, you know, event that we can continue to see year after year. The trophy was also really sick. I'll throw that one in there as well. As far as rushing things, yeah, I do think they did so a bit. And I think in an ideal world, you would have battle tested this course in some type of A tier or the Jomez series. It's been perfect where if you don't have cell service yet, but you still want to throw a sizable event there, then you could have done post-produce coverage only for a Jomez series event, and that would have been a cool way to like embed this. But then maybe it doesn't get the investment it needs from the local government if the government's not getting what they want, which is, you know, the Pro Tour full shebang and the economic impact that's going to bring to their city, right? So it's almost one of those things where it's like a necessary evil in that regard to show a proof of concept to get that investment in the first place. Are there other locations out there in the South? Yeah, you got Cactus Route in Tuscaloosa that people talk about a lot. That's a Paul Mabeth design, kind of like Olympus, that a lot of elevation and technicality. But I think that this area did a great job with what they got, and I think they deserve to build on it.
Yeah, there's a lot of positives to take away from it for sure. Brody, what do you think?
I mean, we definitely have played at much worse courses for their first year. And I would even argue there's probably some courses on tour that have been on tour for several years that are worse than what we saw this past week. I think you got to go with where the money is. If you have a place that's willing to put money and willing to make changes in the course to make it better, I think that is a huge thing. I mean, I just remember Idlewild. We're playing on the same tee pads that are absolutely brutal for years and years and years and years, and not being able to get them to be changed. So if someone's willing to come in and throw money, why would we not want to go there? It did seem like the crowd showed up too, which is another bonus. And I would agree with Dustin. This is a course that is unlike any other course I've really seen or played myself. It's very unique in the way it looks. It reminds me a little bit of like that really awesome hole in Waco. I think it's hole 12 or 13, where it's like you're in the woods, and all of a sudden you get to the one hole, or it might be in 10, the one hole that like opens up and it's got the beautiful green fairway. Like it's like that for a lot of the course. So I don't know. I think it looks great on camera. They got to figure out some stuff. They got to stop changing the follow flights middle of the throw. I agree with you, Hunter, on a course like this that we've never played. You get a kind of an idea of where they're throwing, and then you're watching it, and then they cut right in the middle, and you lose all idea of what gap they're trying to go, where the basket is. They got to stop doing it.
Shot of the tournament for me was, I forget which Ricky tee shot it was, but there was a pivotal tee shot where we watched him throw it from an angle that was a close-up on his face facing the opposite direction, and then didn't see the disc until it was halfway down the fairway. Like, I was mind boggled.
That was like the picture they forgot to actually
you forgot to push the button.
Yeah, I couldn't even believe what I was watching. Hunter, what do you think about this tour stop?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely see a future for it. I think that we're really coming into a groove with the schedule here. I think that hitting this area really serves a big part of the South, the Southeast even. I think that the course was extremely unique. I mean, when we're talking about it, we're talking about the things of this course. Like, is it too hard, right? The cell service, it sounds like there's already a plan in place because the local area is literally bringing in a 5G cell tower. Like, the local area is pouring so much money into this course and into this event. I think the Pro Tour would kind of be dumb not to go back, because if what we're asking about after a tournament is like, we had a nail biter, we're talking about how one singular rules call can sway this whole event, and we're talking about, is the course too hard? Those are things that, you know, I feel like in 2020 we would have been begging to be talking about disc golf like this. So I think that even there was a lot of room for improvement, and I hope that a lot of these things change. I think it was a lot of good problems to have. I also was very encouraged that John Houck, from what I understand, told the local community and some of the people who was working with afterwards that, like, now that they've seen how it played, like, it almost was intentionally too hard, because he basically was like, you can take trees out, you can't put trees back in. So hearing the course designer saying that, or at least, you know, telephone game hearing it through someone, also encourages me a lot, because it's like he's willing to make the changes necessary. If we're here for 4 or 5 years, the cell service still sucks, people are still complaining this course is way too hard, whatever, then I might be on let's get out of there. But for now, I hope this is a staple on tour. I overall enjoyed it.
Just to let you folks know this, there is a tournament that happens every year called Pot of Gold in this area, and usually they play like one round at City Park and one round at this course PDF. From what I understand, for the Pot of Gold tournament this year, it's a big A tier. Like, a lot of top pros from the Southeast go play this. Apparently, they're doing one round from MPO tees, one round from FPO tees to test this course again. And so there are already plans in place to
Yeah.
test this course again and make modifications.
Plenty of commitment on the stop. Matt, wrap it up for us. What were your thoughts on the tour stop overall?
I think this is the stop that has all the components that we've been asking for. Was it absolutely perfect this year? No, I'll definitely admit that, but it's got the potential, I think, to be one of the most iconic stops on tour. It's got the difficult course design to continue to push players, I would argue, more than any other course on tour at the moment. It keeps scoring low that we've been asking for. It keeps scoring separation high that we've also been asking for. And it's also a constant mental battle for these players. We saw so many players go out against this course and then come back and actually shoot pretty decent on it. I love to see that mental battle. I love to see some pros love it, and I love to see some pros hate it at the same time. From the spectator's perspective, I do think this course needs more memorable signature holes. I do think there are a couple memorable holes, but nothing I would point out as an actual signature hole for this course. Maybe the canal hole, maybe hole 18, just because it's so difficult, but I really think that's one design change that needs to happen. I do think the course was rushed. Obviously, there's debris everywhere. We got Debris Gate 2026. Hopefully, we're not going to have Debris Gate 2027. But additional limbs, trees need to go in order to create real fair landing zones for these players. Yeah, the cell phone service definitely has to be fixed. The best quality coverage I saw was from the Ace, from Luke Taylor's Ace. That was definitely filmed on an iPhone that they just kept replaying over and over and over again. So thank you, Steve Jobs. Maybe iPhone really is the way to go there. But the Disc Golf Pro Tour definitely needs variety on tour stops to keep disc golf entertaining. If they're trying to push disc golf to be every weekend or every other weekend, and we have 20 to 25 tour stops, then we need something different from pretty much every tour stop as much as possible. Because this course has almost no elevation changes, therefore it has to have these super difficult landing zones in order to make it super interesting. And if done correctly, I really do think the Big Easy Open can be the biggest irony in disc golf. Yes, it's big, but it's not easy and it's not open. Keep it challenging, punish shots that are not perfect, get debris off the course, and I do think this can be an iconic stop on the tour.
Yeah, say what you want, but there's a lot of good things to take away from it, and it got a lot of people talking about it, which I think that it has the pieces to be a really good tour stop, but I'm sure they'll give it another try, and I hope they do so. So let's move on to our final round here. Very close one today, but Hunter and Dustin squeaking by. You're all tied up, so I don't know. I'll just let Dustin call it because I like him more. Heads or tails, Dustin?
Tails.
Everybody, I think, is called tails so far this year. It is heads. That's 2 in a row for heads. So people might want to start changing things. Hunter, would you like to go first or second?
I'll go first.
Okay, so we're going to we've talked about video evidence before on this show, but we're going to revisit it due to kind of the debris gate situation. So I want to know, should video evidence be allowed to enforce rules if it would do more help than harm to cards without cameras? And I say that like... That's the counter argument usually, is that could harm cards that don't have the cameras. Because currently players are allowed to use their phones to watch coverage, which we've seen players like Gannon do often, since he could then use that video to influence his calls and nobody could really stop him. Should that mean that all video evidence for players and officials alike should be warranted? Does this essentially open the floodgates and make it so you really can't ban that, essentially? Hunter, what do you think?
Well, first off, if it would do more help than harm to cards without cameras, yes, it would help them in the sense that just the cards with cameras would be under scrutiny and they wouldn't, but it would harm the fairness of the tournament. And that's my whole thing, is I just don't think we can do it until we have a camera on every single thing and then we're able to do a replay if I'm on the third card. Because just because we're watching first and second battle it out, there's USDGC spots at stake. That's a career differentiator for players. There's thousands of dollars at stake between, 1 or 2 calls could bump you from making $2,000 down to making $500, depending on how close events are. So I don't like it that because I'm on lead card, I can now be scrutinized by this that no one else can. Because you're on third card, you get off scotch-free because there's no cameras. That's not fair. I don't like that. Secondarily, players are allowed to use their phone to watch coverage. Players aren't allowed to use their phone to influence their calls because video evidence can't be allowed. The only way video evidence is allowed is for tournament officials to make player misconduct callings and to clarify markings. So if I can take a picture and say hey, this painted line, is this really supposed to be here or not? They can't use it to make any other calls. Also, the rules in regards to media are basically all around I take a picture of a situation to show a tournament director. From what I could find, there wasn't necessarily media related things things based on live coverage, because I don't think that a lot of these rules by the PDGA are written with that in mind. They probably need to clarify that some way, because Gannon should not be able to stick gate, for instance. Let's say that Gannon was watching it, and the reason all of it was delayed is because there's a delay in live coverage, and Gannon sees it happen on live coverage. He should not be able to then walk over and say, here, look, that if he didn't see it in person, he didn't see it. It's not his job to watch coverage. It's his job to watch Ricky throw. I'm not saying that's what happened, but I'm saying that should not be allowed. If that is what's going on, none of those rules should stand, because someone should easily be able to say, you saw it on coverage, you didn't actually see it happen. You can't use footage against me there. Sorry, you can't make that call.
But it definitely could be happening. Dustin, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not too far off from Hunter. I do think that you have to be consistent in your ruling practices for all cards to have fair results in scoring and penalties and things of that nature, especially nowadays when you have people who can win from chase card or third card and they're not on coverage, but the lead card is, and you can be inconsistent in your calling because those people aren't on camera as often to see as many things. Like, yeah, I think that's tough. It affects people's prize money. It affects qualification, as Hunter said. So I do think you have to be consistent across the board to be fair when it comes to using like video evidence in that regard. I do think playoffs are a little bit different though. And that is because now you're creating a whole nother round of disc golf that only the people who are a part of the playoff are involved in. And generally speaking, you're going to be able to keep your eyes on all the players in the playoff. It's not like you have like a 20-player playoff or something where you're unable to be equal with coverage everybody. Usually you should be able to cover everything. And so I think in that situation, maybe we could be a little bit better with using evidence. I do think that there is maybe a way to compromise a bit and have some photo and video evidence help you out, because everyone has smartphones nowadays for the most part. And so if you want to, take a picture of something about, hey, this is where this player's lie was that in or out? Was he allowed to putt from here and out? As long as you're doing a provisional and then you're showing a TD after the fact, these sorts of things, like I do think that is where media can be involved. But I think that already is somewhat allowed anyway. And so this is a little bit different than using like live coverage from a live camera in the heat of the moment in the middle of a round. I also think this brings the question, should players be allowed to watch coverage? I do think you should be allowed to keep track of scores. Obviously, you need to know where you're at. That can impact your strategy and whether you need to go for something or layup or whatever. So yeah, being able to keep up with live scoring and stuff is important, but watching live coverage where maybe you're getting information from the commentators, you're getting stuff that you're not supposed to be getting. I mean, this is the same debate that we had about whether or not people should be able to have earbuds in, because of the impact that might have on their psyche or whatever the case may be. I don't think that can be good. And also angles can be misleading too. So like one angle may show one thing, one angle may not. That gets a little dicey as well, depending on where your cameras are at. So yeah, I just think it's got to be consistent, unfortunately.
Well, that's what I'm kind of asking here is, I understand the perfect scenario, but right now players can watch coverage, and whether they are, in this example, potentially literally like finding out about a rules call, or to Dustin's point, maybe they're just seeing angles of shots and then they're not going up to the guy and being like, I saw this on coverage, but that's influencing what they might be saying. Like if they're if they're about to walk up and make an OB call, for example, and they have coverage pulled up and they're seeing all these angles of it, like that's got to create bias. So my point is,
they shouldn't be watching coverage.
Absolutely.
I agree with that, but
they shouldn't be allowed to.
But they can.
They should not be able to.
It can't influence.
I'm suggesting that they should make a rule that does not allow the people to watch coverage.
It can, but it's against the rules to influence. So if I'm Ricky and I said, did you see that on coverage? And Gannon's like, yeah, then okay, sick. I get the call I want.
It's impossible for a person not to be influenced.
I agree with what you're saying.
Trevor,
I also agree with Dustin on
just make
it
it a
shouldn't be
rule where
allowed.
you can't watch coverage.
Yeah, because if you're going to allow it, then you got to, you can't.
So let me ask this
It's
question.
against the rule for me to use this video evidence. So that's affecting me. I am breaking the rule.
One final question, because I agree with what you're saying. One final question. Since we agree that right now players can watch coverage, and to Hunter, like you just agreed that it is impossible not to be influenced. Since we agree on those two things, is it better to have video evidence is just allowed in this universe we live in, even though it's not the right rule?
Absolutely not. It's unfair.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's completely unfair. Camera angles are also deceiving.
But it already is unfair because players are already using it.
The players are breaking the rule. That's not unfair. If you break the rule, that's not unfair.
Well, it is unfair.
And you can make a new rule where you can't watch coverage.
Like all I have to do is like, if you watched coverage and it affected your call cannot be made.
But you'll never know.
Just like we'll never know if Ricky knew what he was doing with the stick. Like that's that.
Right, but I'm
what
saying
are we talking about?
I'm talking about it's already a bad situation, but does it actually make it less rule breaking happen if you just take the floodgates off?
Dude, no one's calling anybody for blatant things that they're seeing anyway.
Yeah,
What is live video cover? What is the video going to make a difference
as it's
on?
currently set, it should be fair. If there's video coverage allowed, it is unfair.
There's people stop watching players
No way
whether they're
around
taking
it.
too
So
long
if
or not.
your
They're still not
team
making
make
calls.
it fair, then ban video coverage. That's the only way to truly make it fair.
Yes, I do agree with that take. Yes,
But
I
like
do think.
as it currently sits, you can't watch coverage and make a call based on the coverage. Because what we saw on coverage was Ricky's disc didn't cross. What people saw in person is Ricky's disc crossed. So we even to
it's a huge
Dustin's point
problem.
of like taking a picture of a lie. If I take a picture a little to the left, I'm in bounds. I take a picture a little to the right, I'm out of bounds. You know what I mean? Like you can't.
no, it's a
that's why you
problem.
can't use it. So like. No, it's not like, oh, well, it might be a little unfair now, so let's just make it for sure unfair. That's fair. No, absolutely not.
Yeah. Okay. Fair
Can
enough.
I
I'm
leave
just-
a question
I'm just
for the
question
chat?
guy. Yeah.
This is a question for the chat, so please let me know if you're still watching. What your answer is to this? Do you think the Disc Golf Pro Tour cared more about having the band in the right spot for the playoff win than the spotter?
Absolutely.
Like, because obviously the band
was on point.
The band was set up on
Incredible.
18. The band was set up on 18 for the win. Someone had to go over to tell them, "Hey, we need to move you guys because there's a playoff."
Mm-hmm.
So did they care more about the band being in the
Can
right
you ask
spot?
Jeff Spring that tonight? Be like, hey, what was the logistics of making sure the band was in the right spot, but the spotter wasn't?
Someone had to tell the band to get over there.
You have to ask the question. Okay, in any case, let's wrap this up. I'm going to say overall, you guys had basically the same take, and I'm going to give Dustin the slight edge overall today.
I knew as soon as I argued with Trevor too much, I was losing. I was willing to fall on my sword for the betterment of the sport,
You guys literally
though.
both just argued the exact same thing.
We did. We
Yeah,
did.
the second I
Against
started
me.
arguing, I was like, well, there goes my win, but that's okay. It's for the betterment of the sport.
There we go.
No, it's this smugness. It's this smugness, though, that will lead to that.
I was just
And
saying,
that's fair.
I knew who was going to win, and I was willing. It was okay. It was okay. But Dustin and I were teamed up for the betterment of the sport.
That's right.
Guys, I didn't even write this question.
Really? Who wrote this question?
It was a fan submission.
Oh, nice.
Like,
No, seriously,
I
that's
don't-
cool. That's cool.
I don't know why you're not arguing against me. I'm just here to read the questions. I don't write any of these. It's AI. So I don't even
This
know.
whole show
I don't
could
know.
be AI.
Could be.
Yeah, I don't know
Matt's
what you're
camera
talking about.
definitely is. Anyway.
Yeah, Matt's
Okay.
camera is.
Listen,
It's moving all over the place. No idea what's happening.
I started to get seasick in
it's
the
a
middle there.
roller coaster ride. Listen, if you guys want to submit more questions that I will use that will apparently get pinned on me and just ruthlessly taken apart, you can scan the QR code on the screen. Hey, or just submit them in the comments if you'd like. You can just throw them down there. We scrub the comments too. And thanks for watching this episode. Hopefully you've enjoyed. Thanks for all the support this season, and we will be back next week with another episode. See you then.